Like, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I really am sorry. But today, in 1968, Leonard Nimoy made an album called The Two Sides of Leonard Nimoy. He also made 2 more albums after that, and he had one prior to the 68 release. And, you know, with the passing, it hit a lot of people really, really hard. What do you think, Jay?
I think that Spock as a character, not only Leonard Nimoy, is possibly the longest running actor in Star Trek as a franchise as a whole. None of the actual cast from what would become known as the original series actually aired on the pilot, which he did, but he was the only one that was retained. So I think be it that he was the longest running actor in that franchise, and the fact that he reprised this role so many times, it's a big loss to the Star Trek community. I'm a Trekkie, personally, and he was a favorite among a lot of people, not only because he was a fantastic actor and his character was interesting, but for the simple fact that when you look at Star Trek, prior to that, a character being developed that was struggling to understand what humanity is had never been attempted before. And I think that for a lot of Trekkies or Trekkers, whichever term that you use, around the world, that made his character so relatable because it made people question themselves. And I think that he will be severely missed, also by the photography community as well. He did a lot of photography in his later years. So...
Yes, he did. He did photography. He was a musician. He was an actor. He was an all-around guy. And he will be sorely missed. And just saying that out there, you know, I'm sorry. And that he'll be missed is an understatement. But there's no words that can actually say how sad it is that he's gone. And from the Star Wars side of things, Harrison Ford got into a plane crash, but only has minor injuries. He is okay. He has not done any singles or anything like that. He hasn't done any music. The only reason why I did that was because Star Trek, Star Wars, might as well have them both hand in hand. So, Jay, you are the DJ manager, or the manager, not the DJ manager, the station manager of NYFM.
Yes, I am.
So that's got to be a big job.
It is. This is actually the first time that I've been given the title of station manager for a radio station that was in development rather than already established. So it's been a bit of a challenge. There's been a lot of obstacles, but at the end of the day, we're very quickly developing, and I'm very satisfied with not only the cooperation and the hard work from our parent company, my studio productions, but also from all the staff and my managers as well. I think it's come together relatively quickly and very efficiently, and I'm very honored to be a part of it, really.
So what kind of music do you like?
Well,
generally,
to get through my day, I listen to a lot of rock. Rock, metal, goth metal. I listen to a lot of it to try and just get me through the day. I have a very general eclectic taste in music, so it really depends on my mood. I guess you could say later at night you'll hear me listening to chill out, sometimes even some smooth jazz. If I'm just kind of unwinding, I like to listen to classical and things like that. But when I do my shows, and also my go-to music to kind of pick up my mood and you know, get things done, always go to the rock.
It's the rock and roll. So who is your favorite band of all time? Your most favorite band?
Oh, that is a loaded question. Well, I would have to say, when I think about it in the rock genre, I actually didn't get involved in listening to rock until the early 2000s, when it was kind of the standard genre in the household I was growing up in. But I would have to say that one of the most influential bands for my sets, as well as developing a lot of different thoughts and feelings of me, would have to be currently Digital Summer. There is not a song that I can say from Digital Summer that I have a complaint about.
Awesome. Well, just for the record, Corey Taylor, I love you. Yes, I had to say it. Slipknot. So, I guess you figure my favorite band's Slipknot, Stone Sour. So, yeah.
I can only imagine.
I love Corey Taylor. He is an extremely talented human being. Did you know that he learned how to play guitar by playing commercials? Like, he would play the commercials on his guitar, and that's how he learned how to play guitar.
I have I guess you could say he's a friend of mine in areas of life where the way he learned how to play guitar was he picked up some actual sheet music, went and got himself a guitar, and he locked himself in his room for 3 days. And he learned how to read, play, and, eventually do some things on his own. And then he discovered tabs. So he went and picked up some tabs for some of his, favorite songs, the Scorpions and Led Zeppelin and things like that. And he locked himself in his room for another 3 days, and then he could do both. And you go to his house now, he has like 7 different guitars, a couple of them are signed, some really cool stuff. It's pretty awesome.
That's how my son learned how to play bass. He learned it from tabs online. He would watch the videos and stuff like that. And he can actually do NIB by Black Sabbath, which apparently is one of the harder bass songs to ever do. And he knows how to do that. And he knows how to do a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Nice.
He loves Red Hot Chili Peppers. So he knows how to do a lot of that slapping and stuff like that. And he learned all by himself, just by YouTube and by tabs. So I'm quite proud of my son doing that. I have to buy him a new one.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. So, rock and roll is your favorite, which is good.
That is very true. It's very good. Yes, it is.
So what do you think of the transition from, say, 80s metal to today's metal? What do you think of the transition that has conspired? I have my views on it, but I'll get to them after you.
Well, when I listen to 80s metal versus the metal of today, really, what I think has happened is through the course of the 80s, through the 90s especially, there was a big transition, in the metal and rock genre, as you would say. It's where a lot of different things kind of picked up and branched off. Alternative became very popular, punk became a thing, and all these things spurred from, rock and metal. So I think that metal in and of itself became very influenced in the later 90s and the early 2000s from the changing of the, I'll say it this way, the passing of the torch from one generation to the next, the influences of the new generation of, people that were more influenced not only by new age rock, but also by hip hop and rap and R&B and things like that. So I think a lot of those influences played into making metal kind of what it is today, to where when you listen to a lot of metal nowadays, it's much more melodic and symphonic and things like that, very rhythmic, and kind of much more, I know there's probably a poor choice of words, but more emotionally rooted in and of itself. A lot of songs from Evanescence or Nightwish, very emotionally rooted, but maintaining that core metal feel with newer age twists on them.
Yeah, turning into goth metal. Yeah, goth metal is very in-depth and very lyrical, and it's got a lot of, it's like an onion. It has many, many layers to them, and I do agree. But, I'm talking, just straight-up metal. When you have the Scorpions and Judas Priest and all that, say, considered to Slipknot and Disturbed and those kind of bands, don't you miss the solos and things like that in the songs?
I do. I do miss those long guitar riffs and the solos and things like that. I won't say it's disappointing when I compare something like, the Scorpions to Disturbed, but in the same respect, I understand that each band has its own different flavor, has its own different way of doing things, but I think what it really boils down to is the older school way of doing things versus the next generation way of doing things, which I hate to say that it's gotten watered down a bit, because I know that many artists, many bands are still very, very passionate about their music, very, very passionate about doing what they do. But I think the difference between then and now is, back then music was music and musicians were musicians because of the music. Nowadays the music industry is very corporate, if that makes sense. And I think I think what it's boiled down to is too much control versus more music, if that makes a lot more sense.
I have a question from Antonia, and she says, would you call it Iron Maiden-esque, meaning along the lines of song construction and melodic qualities used in their songs, like the harmonization of multiple guitars added or detracted from their songs?
To be honest, that's a great question. To be honest, I think, if I'm understanding your question correctly, I think that an Iron Maiden-esque melodic harmonization, I think that adds to music, but my tastes in music are very much more eclectic, so I appreciate much more melodic things like orchestral and symphonic type music versus, your everyday metalhead fan might not. However, in that sense, I believe and I appreciate that if a song has to go 6, 7, 8 minutes, but it has great melodic harmonization, it has awesome riffs, it really speaks through itself, I think great music is just that, it's great music. So I don't think necessarily that it would add or detract from anything, really. It really depends on the style in which it's put forth. If you're going to have a 20-minute guitar solo for no reason, that may detract from it. But if you're speaking about something through your music, like a proper artist or a proper musician or a proper poet speaks through their own work, then you're not really adding or detracting from anything, because music in any way, shape, or form is a matter of expression. So long as you're conveying that message, I don't really think it would add or detract anything, really.
Well, like Queensryche, Judas Priest, and I can name off a few other bands, they harmonized a lot and had a lot of emotion into their songs also from the 80s. Like, we're not just talking 80s, like even Black Sabbath, right there, Heaven and Hell.
Absolutely, yeah.
A very classic song. And, like, it had a huge solo in it, but it was so methodical in its sense of, like, in every sense of the word, that this whole song, Heaven and Hell, which is quite a long song, had the melodies and had the same things as what you were looking for and what you were talking about in music. So, like Iron Maiden with their doubles, and so is Judas Priest with their doubles and stuff like that, where they do all these melodies. And their solos, they're doing melodies. I miss that, to be honest with you.
I do too, really. I just, like I said, I think what it ends up boiling down to is, I think, in my personal opinion, this is not, I'm not speaking on anyone's behalf, but in my personal opinion, I think that any genre that you look at, whether it be rap, hip-hop, R&B, rock, metal, I think that the music industry as a whole today has become so corporate that there is so much business control and so much dictation as to how things should be on an album. I I can't begin to tell you how many bands I know locally where an initial song that they write is so expressive, you relate to the song and the way it's executed and the way it's done is just so beautiful that when they go to the recording studio and they sit down with, a productions manager or a record representative or a label representative and, they say, okay, well, this is the song. By the time the album actually releases, the song that I initially heard in a rehearsal in somebody's garage has been completely changed. Mm-hmm. And, has either become 40% synthesized or has been dulled down to just fit the corporate standard of, okay, let's push it out. And I think that's the big difference between back then and nowadays, because back then music was music. And the musician, and you can feel it, exactly.
I do have another question here from Bear. What do we think of the Slipknot Justin Bieber Psychosocial Baby mashup and the 9 Inch Nails Taylor Swift Perfect Drug Shake It Off mashup by Isosign?
To be perfectly honest, is there any Justin Bieber fans out there that are watching this? I apologize for what I'm about to say. Anything with Justin Bieber on it automatically has me turned off. Sorry. I haven't listened to that one. I listened to the other one, but I haven't listened to the other one, and the reason why is because it says Justin Bieber on it. But
I actually heard both. And I think Bear sent them to me, and that's why I've actually heard both. And I cringed seeing Justin Bieber. Yes, I did. But seeing Slipknot over Justin Bieber kind of... I'm a huge Slipknot fan, so of course me seeing Slipknot's going to make me press play no matter what. And to be honest with you, as much as I don't like Justin Bieber, I think that his music is too repetitive, kind of like Nicki Minaj. There's nothing to the music at all. It's just corporate, like what Jay said. It actually turned out good. Like the 9 Inch Nails Taylor Swift Perfect Drug Shake It Off.
That one was actually pretty good. Yes. That one was actually pretty good.
Like.
I will say something about mashups, though, and covers, too. What I've noticed a lot of bands, especially a lot of bands that, are just kind of breaking through, are doing is they're taking kind of the top 40 songs and remaking them into kind of a rock genre. I think there are two that kind of stick out in my mind as far as covers. I Prevail's cover of Blank Space by Taylor Swift. That's a really good cover. And I didn't actually think that I would really like that song, but I listen to it probably once a day. It's a really good cover. And then Upon a Burning Body did a cover of Turn Down for What, featuring Ice-T. That's another really kick-ass cover, and the video is pretty hot. So if you haven't watched those, I recommend that you go to YouTube and look those up, because those are two really good covers. But with mashups too, though, I've seen a lot of DJs, as well as audio producers and audio engineers, that do these mashups and they put them on YouTube, and they explode. I mean, it's fantastic. So I like to see cross-collaboration on the genres, because I hate that stigma that says, if you listen to rap, you can't listen to this. That some people say, not everybody, but a lot of people say, well, I don't listen to Linkin Park. I listen to Eminem. Well,
which is stupid, but yeah.
It really is stupid. So,
all right, we have two questions here. One from Antonia. She says, would you say that the modern music industry strips the rawness that most local bands and regional bands gain through their core following of fans?
I would. I definitely would. And the reason being is because graduating from high school in a small town like I did, I went from being a city boy, born and raised in Miami, Florida, being exposed to a lot of different cultures and a lot of different music to, eventually moving into a small town, graduating in a, number 51 in the class of 106 type thing in the middle of the country But growing up in that kind of a small town setting, you see a lot of bands pop up in high school, and they, they do concerts and different things like that, and it's fantastic, and they make a lot of money off of it. The thing that I think what happens is, and why a lot of them actually fail sometimes, is because I believe that there is a corporate standard as far as what music should release on an album as. And I think that really takes away from the creative control of the original artist. I miss the days of Freddie Mercury writing Bohemian Rhapsody versus 11 people writing somebody else's music today.
Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, something like that.
15 people to do that Anaconda song.
Right, exactly. And I think that, especially in the rock and metal genres, it's really come to a time to where we, musicians and bands really should try and take back some of that control, because when you listen to some of these songs that a lot of indie artists and a lot of local artists do before they even think about, let's sign with a record label or let's go to the recording studio today, these songs are very heartfelt. They're very, they're very well put together and very well thought out and very, very methodical in the way the song is written. A case in point, the band Outrigger. They used to have a lead vocalist who wrote their lyrics and things like that, and before, they actually, started doing albums and things like that, they were, just publishing YouTube videos here and there. His lyrics were very well thought out, very methodical and very heartfelt. You could feel the emotion in them, and they really, the lyrics still really speak to, at least me, when I listen to their music. I don't see him standing on stage with that band anymore since they've actually started releasing albums. Whether that was the band's decision or whatnot, what I can say is there's a lot more synthesization in their music now since they've released albums, and I personally feel there's less of that personal touch that they had in the beginning. I have a friend who has a band here locally who I really, really warned about that, trying to maintain control of their music, because I didn't want to see their music really get watered down. But I do believe that there is really, really a big control when it comes to the corporate music industry versus the local music artists. And I think that local music artists that are trying to break into that industry really, really have to stand up and have a voice.
Okay, and question number 2 from Xander is, what about the Flaming Hanley's Lollipop cover?
That is actually one of the original songs from one of my original DJ set playlists. Not kidding. It is one of my favorite covers, not even gonna lie. I do like Flaming Hanley as a band. Not a big fan of a lot of their songs. There are a few that I can pick out that I really do like. Their cover of Lollipop, though, was a pretty awesome cover. I really did like it.
My favorite cover of all is Lilister's Umbrella. When Rihanna sang it, it was annoying. Umbrella. But when Lilister sings it, oh my goodness, it's just so much better. But that's my personal opinion. And a quick shout out to Abyssio Nico Designs. Yes, Abyssio Nico Designs for your eclectic wear now has new clothes for the muscular woman. Yes, for you that have your muscles and look absolutely beautiful, I have clothes just for you also. So remember, Abyssio Nico Designs for every woman. Every shape, every size, every woman gets Abyssio Nico Designs. Ha! Have you heard the Lilister's Umbrella?
I haven't, actually. You're going to have to send me that cover.
I will send you that cover. Ah, yes. Here we go. From Ryuko. Ryuko says, what do you think about pirated music? Convenient for previews, good for keeping, or absolutely wrong?
That's a double-edged sword. And the reason why I say it is because there are two things that any artist can say. And any artist from any particular art, whether it be theater, visual, spatial, writing, whatever the case may be, any artist has said both of these things at one point in time in their life. I do it for the love of and passion of what I do. I'm good at it, and I should get paid for it. So it's a double-edged sword. Should everyone be able to appreciate music and enjoy it equally and as much as they possibly can? Sure, absolutely. Do the artists have the right to get paid for their hard work? Yeah, they do. It boils down to, if you're the guy working on the grill at a McDonald's, would you do that for free? No. A lot of these artists, while they have much more of a passion for what they do and a love for what they do, that is their living, and they deserve to get paid for it. Am I going to sit here and draw political lines as to, is it absolutely wrong, is it absolutely right? I'm not. Because there are a lot of artists out there that, especially local artists, you go up to a local artist and say, hey, you know what, I work at a radio station and I really like your music, but I can't pay you royalties right now, and I know that you're signing with a record label. 9 times out of 10 they say, you know what, let me check out your radio station real quick. You bring it up on your tablet, they say, you know what, I like what you're doing, here's a mix, well, back in the day it used to be mixtape, nowadays it's a CD, or, even a flash drive or what have you, an email of a couple of tracks, but it really depends. I personally believe that any form of pirating is wrong. That's true. Am I going to sit here and play, like I'm the angel? No. So, and I know that nobody else can, but in the same respect, it's like I said, it's a double-edged sword. People should be able to enjoy the arts for what they are, because, there's there's a lot in life, first life or second life, that is a lot of BS. And we've all encountered it, the things that, you open your eyes and you just really don't want to roll out of bed to. We all know it. The arts is something that is just pure, and you should be able to enjoy it freely. But at the same time, people should be able to go home and feed their families with the money that they make. That's just the way it is.
Like, don't get me wrong, I buy the odd CD here and there. I still buy CDs because I play them in my car. So and I have a ton of them, so it's not like I don't buy CDs, I do buy them. Like, the last one I got was actually for Mother's Day from my son and all his friends. They all chipped together and got me the Slipknot CD that had the DVD in with it, so that was kind of nice. But anyway, it is time to wrap up the show. I thank you so much, Jay, for coming on.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's great having you here, and thank you everybody for all those wicked awesome questions. Wow, those were really good this week. I am so proud of you guys. I'm so happy you guys are here. I really am. You guys make my show so much better. And this is Landor Lancaster, your Mistress of Metal, signing off for now. Peace. Have a great weekend.